Hey everybody! Welcome back to another video on the channel. Well, nobody's here, but yeah. They Shook Hands, Year 1, Chapter 10, A Troll in the Dungeon. So let's continue reading. Perhaps it was because he was so busy now, with Quidditch practice twice a week on top of all of his homework, but Harry could hardly believe when he crossed off the last day of October on his calendar. He'd been at Hogwarts for 2 months now, and the old castle felt more like home than Private Drive ever had. Harry was happy. It was a new feeling for him, and he found that he quite liked it. He had hardly dared to dream that life could be as wonderful as it turned out to be. Whole days went by when he didn't even think about the Dursleys, those miserable muggles who had tried to keep him down. His days no longer filled with hunger, isolation, and verbal abuse, but rather with laughter and friendship. His friends seemed to be a gift from heaven. Sure, they had their quirks and their strange habits, but they were good people. They had taken Harry into their house, into their hearts. Harry knew that if he ever had to make a stand, any of his friends would jump up to stand beside him, no matter the odds, no matter the opposition. He would do the same for them. His friends helped learn the basics of magic, drawing them all closer together. Now they had mastered those basics, their lessons were becoming more interesting. In charms, they had begun to work in levitation, the spell that Professor Flitwick had used to send Gracie's kid and Arden zooming around about the classroom. So far they focused on the wrist movement, swish and flick, and properly pronouncing the Latin words. On Halloween morning, they came up into the castle proper, led by their noses, which had been filled with the wonderful smell of baking pumpkin. Even better, Professor Flitwick announced to charms that he thought they were ready to actually try casting levitation spell. He told the class to break into pairs and passed out a feather to each pair of students. Harry was partnered with Draco, though he could have quite easily worked any of his friends. Jay Luck was with them all. Even those of the Slytherins who had been struggling managed to successfully send their feathers floating around the room today. Only Panther was having trouble. She managed to set her feather on fire, filling the room with a highly unpleasant smell. Well done, all of you, cried Professor Flitwick. 50 points to Slytherin. Charms was their last class that day, so they holed up in the library afterwards to finish up homework. Professor Snape had signed an essay on the scintillating solution that was to do the following morning. They would actually be attempting to make the potion in 1 week. When it was time for dinner, they all entered the great hall and stopped in their tracks. The hall had been absolutely transformed. 1,000 live bats fluttered from the walls and ceiling, while 1,000 more swooped over the tables in low black clouds, making the candles in the pumpkin stutter. The feast appeared suddenly on the golden plates, as it had been at the start of term banquet. Harry was just helping himself to a baked potato when Professor Quirrell came sprinting to the hall, turban askew and terror written across his face. Everyone stared in amazement as he tripped and fell to his knees in front of the high table. "Troll!" he gasped. "In the dungeons!" Thought he ought to know. He slipped to the floor in a dead faint. For a second, nobody moved. Then someone screamed. A panicked uproar filled the hall. It took several rubble firecrackers exploding from the end of Professor Dumbledore's wand to bring silence. "There will be order," he declared. "Prefect, lead your houses back to the dormitories immediately. I will lead the teachers to dungeons and we will deal with this troll. Quickly now." "Stay where you are," Elon Malfoy snapped at them. "There's us creating a huge damage to people at the door. Someone will get hurt." So the Slytherins waited patiently for the hall to clear. Peter Von Erickson, the 7th-year prefect, appeared lost in thought when he spoke. He was perfectly cool and composed, very much in charge of the situation. "Listen up, everyone. Because the trolls in the dungeons, I've decided it would be too dangerous to try to lead you all back to the common room. We're going to the library instead." "What does Dumbledore say?" a frightened second-year girl asked. Peter's upper lip curled in disgust, though he said nothing inflammatory. Sometimes the headmaster was a little absent minded. I'm sure it just slipped his mind that our common room is in the dungeons. "It's going to be all right," Elon assured the girl, taking her hand. "The professor will take care of the troll, and you'll be snug in your bed tonight." The girl, Harry thought her name was Samantha, smiled gratefully. The prefect stationed themselves all around the Slytherins, forming a defensive perimeter. The 5th, 6th, and 7th year students all had their wands out as well. Peter led the way towards the library. Theo tugged at Harry's and Draco's robes, pulling the boys towards the rack of the group and then ducking off to the side. He had a strange look in his face, a weird glint in his eye. Blaise followed them, a curious curiosity plain to see. "What?" Draco asked, irritated, twitching his robes back into place. "Let's go," Theo said. "Where?" Harry asked, confused. "To the dungeons." Harry stared at his friend. "Are you insane?" he hissed. "There's a great bloody troll in the dungeons. Why did the prefects start taking us to the library instead of our common room? I read about trolls," Theo said. "I think we can be one. Come on, it'll be fun." "Fun?" Draco said incredulously. "Evidence is some kind of definition of fun that I'm unaware of. Theo, you're going to get us killed." "It's only a troll." "Only a troll?" Harry gave to them. "You've been sipping potion fumes in class, haven't you?" "Look, I don't really think it'll be fun, but honestly, what a challenge. Don't you want to try to get your hand on something more advanced than feathers? We've been practicing Hexus for nearly 2 months for what? Humiliating Weasley doesn't take that much preparation." "It's quite a jump from feathers to trolls," Harry retorted. "I'd like a few intermediate steps if you don't mind. Now come on, we're going to the library." Theo shook Harry's hand. "No way, no day. The troll is mine." "You're out of your bloody mind," Draco half shouted, making a grab for Theo's robes. Theo dodged neatly. Come along if you want to," he threw back over his shoulder. He sprinted down the hall. Draco looked at Harry. Harry looked back very unhappy. "You realize we have to go after him?" Harry said. "We do?" Draco asked. "You mean he's not going to get what he deserves?" "Forget this," Blaise declared. "I'm not going anywhere near that troll. He treated back the way they had come." Harry grabbed Draco's robes again, pulling him down the hall in the direction Theo had gone. He's our friend and we have to stick by him, even though he's gone potty. As soon as we save him, we're going to hex him into next week, but right now he needs our help. Draco changed the subject, pulling his ropes free of Harry's grasp and straining them yet again. I wonder how a troll got any moves as he walked. They're really stupid. No way could have gone in on his own. Peeves, Harry suggested? It could be. Seems a bit out of style, though. This is clearly bothering Draco. Harry stopped suddenly, holding up his hand for silence. They could both clearly hear hurrying footsteps. Elon's gone looking for us, Draco pulling Harry to a shadowed corner. It was on Elon, rather Professor Snape, he saw walking through the corridor and disappearing through a secret passage. What's he doing up here, Harry asked. Shouldn't we be with the other teachers in the dungeons? No idea. The passage leads to the third floor, though. What's that up there that he's so concerned about? Hey, there's Theo. Glad you could join me, Theo muttered as he moved in order to stand near him. The troll was huge and ugly. He dragged a thick club on the ground behind it as he shuffled through the hall. It was perhaps best they not try to categorize the awful smell of the thing. What of the feast day they had managed to enjoy thus far redecorating the floor, as if they had thought too much about it? I thought Quirrell said it was down in the dungeons, Harry whispered. What's it doing up here? All sorts of people in strange places tonight, Draco replied. So what's the plan? Does it include running away far away from here? No, it doesn't, Theo hissed. So what do we do? Asked Harry. I'm not quite sure, Theo replied doubtfully. We saw that for certain, but now that I'm looking at this, I'm not quite sure I knew what I was doing. I could have told you that. I did tell you that. So let's run away. Let the teachers take care of it, Draco snapped. We don't have a lot of options. Harry should have said, they're all down the dungeons looking for Snape. They look busy, so let's not bother him. We're here now, and it's up to us to stop this thing before it hurts anybody. He looked at his two friends. Who's better than us? We're Slytherins, the best house in Hogwarts. Draco and Theo grinned at him. You got that right, Theo said. So what's your idea? Harry drew his wand and pointed it, not at the troll, but at the giant club he carried. And when applied today's charms lesson, he said, Wingardium Leviosa. The club was wrenched out of the troll's grasp and soared into the air. The troll stopped shambling along, still blinking stupidly its own weapon. Harry waved his wand a little, then the club smacked the troll in the head. He was set for a moment, then shook off his daze and roared in anger. Bonkers, Draco exclaimed, drawing his own wand. Wingardium Leviosa, he cried, pointing his wand at the muller pillar with an oil lamp resting on it. The pillar shuddered, then slowly rose in the air. Wingardium Leviosa, Theo echoed, pointing one of the tapestries that hung everywhere in this castle. He brought the fabric up high, maneuvering it over the troll's head, and dropped it down, blinding it. Hit it, Draco shouted. Both he and Harry began striking the troll about the head and shoulders with their floating impromptu wands. They got about 6 good hits in before with floating impromptu weapons. They got about 6 good hits in before with a groan of pain, and the troll tottered and crashed to the ground. Everyone was frozen for a moment, not believing it was over. Then Theo laughed and twirled his wand in his fingers. Up Slytherin! Draco was looking outside the one well. Excuse me, said faintly, but I'm going to have a heart attack now. What is going on here? Came a shocked and infuriated voice. The Slytherins turned to see Professor McGonagall standing nearby. Her face pinched, her lips white from being pressed together, and her eyes flat and piercing. She looked very unhappy with them. Hello, Professor, Theo said nonchalantly. So how are you this evening? None of your cheek knots, she snapped. Why aren't you in your common room? Well, drawled Draco, seeing us that there's a troll loose in the dungeons, our prerequisite decided to take us to the library instead. Then why aren't you in the library? She asked her clenched teeth, visibly trying not to give in to the urge to strangle the lot of them. A worthy question, interjected Professor Snape, coming onto the scene. With Professor Quirrell close behind, he led over to examine the troll. The troll has been beaten quite severely. Stuff. How? He asked, his black eyes bored directly into Harry's. We applied today's charms lesson, sir, he had said, relieved to be speaking to his own head of house. Someone he knew would be on his side. We used a levitation charm and just kept hitting it until it stopped moving. McGonagall was staring at them in disbelief. Quirrell, looking ill, had leaned against the wall. He glanced down at the troll every few seconds and shouted before looking away. Snape, however, was regarding his first charge as something akin to pride. Yes, well, with such fearsome weapons, the outcome was inevitable. Of all the why have never, how could you be so stupid? McGonagall burst out. You could have been killed. But they weren't, Snape said sharply. They read this troll from causing murder and mayhem here in the castle. Their methods are crude, no doubt, but no less inspired for it. He looked critically at them. 20 points, he said firmly. Harry delighted in the consternation across McGonagall's face. Professor Snape, she began. Each. Now, really, the three of me return to the Great Hall. I believe now that the troll has been taken care of, the Halloween feast can continue as planned. Professor Snape's dismissal was great news, and the three of them dashed away. As they rounded the corner, they saw Professor McGonagall shaking her finger at Professor Snape, who looked profoundly unintimidated. Back in the Great Hall, the students were beginning to return. The place still as they had left them. Harry sat down and took a bite of his baked potato. It was still warm. Well, Theo said Barley, that was an adventure. Draco reached over and shoved his friend's face into his soup bowl. Never do that to me again, Theo was sputtering stoop. I am not a bloody Gryffindor. I am not really stupid, and I do not enjoy facing certain death. Draco going to drown him, Harry said with his mouth full. He chewed faster in time to swallow. He deserves it. Let him up. Theo held on for a few seconds to make his point that released Theo's head. Theo came out of his soup, gasping for breath and groping for a napkin. We'll pay for that, Malfoy, Theo threatened. I wouldn't sleep tonight if I were you. The Quidditch season had begun. On Saturday, Harry playing his first match against after weeks of training. Slytherin versus Gryffindor. Gryffindor was in third place for the House Cup, though the points for winning the match would not let them take first place. Slytherin was already in first place. They wanted to maintain that lead. Harry's presence team had not been kept secret, so some people kept telling me he'd be brilliant, while others told him that they'd be running around underneath him holding a mattress. Draco, anyone else who knew what Harry was capable of doing, usually laughed in the face of anyone who spoke like this, which irritated Weasley and his fellow Gryffindors immensely. Last minute practice and forced into my foot made Harry even more grateful for his friends, who helped him get through all of his homework. His grades were plummeted had he left to his own devices. The week raced by, and Harry's nervousness increased exponentially with each passing day. That Friday potions class, the tension there was unbearably thick. Vicious glares shot both ways across the room. Only the pending rival Professor Snape kept them from coming more with the glances. The door slammed, singly start of class, as it did every Friday. Paedel, what is the ratio of distilled water to dandelion sap in the wart-removing potion? Poor poverty Paedel was stuck working with Weasley. If rumors to be believed, she apparently drawn the short straw this morning. Weasley had different part in every class because none of the Gryffindors wanted to work with them anymore. So far to Harry's knowledge, Weasley not managed to brew a single potion correctly. Weasley was even worse at potions than hopelessly inept Longbottom. Whenever those two worked together, the solution was almost guaranteed. Weasley was always the first in the bowl from the potions, anxiously used to escape both Professor Snape and the Slytherins. His fix had lost Gryffindor scores of points, earned him so many budding gains and marks from the professor. He hadn't gotten slapped with detention, but Harry was sure it was only a matter of time. Harry stared in amazement as the potions master limped down the aisle. Professor Snape was Slytherin to the core, yet he was limping, showing weakness. Something was seriously wrong. See that? He whispered to Tracy. She frowned. He must have really hurt, she whispered back. Curiosity consumed Harry all through the lecture. He was back to the point that he nearly added double the required amount of ladybug shells to his potion. Unfortunately, Tracy was paying attention to Snape for ruining all their hard work. When she happened to decide to hold him to focus, he tried to concentrate. Professor Snape's apparent regard for Harry could still wait an instant if Harry allowed himself to make mistakes. He didn't want to draw Snape's wrath. After class was over, Weasley, Bolt, and all the students headed up to the Great Hall for lunch. Harry stayed behind. Snape had his head buried in one of the supply cabinets. He cleared his throat. Sir? What is it, Mr. Potter? Are you all right? No, sir, I noticed you limping. Snape's piercing black eyes bored to Harry's face as the potions master gave Harry his undivided attention. I appreciate concern, Mr. Potter, but I am quite fine. I strained muscle this morning during my morning stretches. Something about that didn't sound quite right, but Harry knew it was really none of his business. He nodded. Yes, sir, he said. We're just worried, that is all. You know about not showing weakness and such. A cheek muscle twitched in Snape's stern face. I see. Rest assured I will be fine in several more hours, Mr. Potter. Yes, sir, Harry twitched his head again. I will see you at lunch then. He turned to leave, but something on the floor caught his eye. Professor, what's this on the floor? He leaned over to touch it, and his fingers came away red. Nothing to be concerned about, Potter, Snape said, his voice taking on a slight warning tone. Harry deflated. Snape obviously wasn't going to tell him anything. Yes, sir, he said and walked towards the door. Oh, and Potter, came Snape's voice behind him. Harry turned around. The motion master grabbed a handful of his robes and leaned him very close. Harry noticed his breath wasn't pleasant at all. You three foolishly dangerous the reputation of Slytherin House, Snape said, his dark eyes burning a hole in Harry's skull, and more importantly, your lives. I'm responsible for your lives, and if you ever act like a hard-headed Gryffindor again, you will wish that troll had gone you. Do you understand? Too scared to speak, Harry nodded his head furiously. Snape released and turned back to his tasks. Harry bolted for the door. On the walk up to the hall, Harry's mind was in turmoil. Professor Snape was hiding something, but what? Wasn't even any of Harry's business? Snape was a teacher. He could certainly make handle his own affairs. Why didn't it continue to nag at him? Harry sat down with his friends, but didn't take any food. Theo nudged him. Harry was eating in a whisper. Harry told Theo about the conversation in Snape's gardeness. Harry, this is blood. Theo was appearing to liquid on Harry's fingers. Blood? Harry stammered. Whose blood? Excellent question indeed, Theo muttered. Professor Snape was limping, and now he discovered blood on the floor. There's more to this than a strained muscle. Something hurts Snape, something that can't be healed with common magic. Something else is preventing him from getting proper treatment for it. This is a mystery. Hey, Draco, Theo said, waving the blonde boy over. Got any ideas about this? He explained the situation in his own speculations. Draco's eyes were very serious. I have an excellent idea, he said, looking directly at Harry. We saw him headed towards the third floor the night we fought the troll. How much did he care to wager that he had to run into the three-headed dog? Harry gasped. Images of that great vicious beast came back at him just as sharply as they were in front of him again. Everything the same as after the mysterious package from Gringotts. Draco frowned. His eyes were coming together in deep thought. That's what the evidence points to. The plot thickens. Militia Draco down the bench. Harry, you're talking pretty loud, you know. I don't think any other students heard you, but Pansy and I heard you loud and clear. Draco definitely leaned over. I heard you too. We shouldn't talk about this here, you know. Fine, said Theo. In our practice room after lunch. Until then, not another word. Harry couldn't eat. His stomach was in knots. He drank 3 glasses of milk to have something to do. He did his best to observe the head table inconspicuously, but he needn't have worried. Professor Snape would never arrive. For it seemed like forever. Lunch was over. The now free first really ran down from the hall. Harry followed as Daphne, Theo, Pansy, Draco, Tracy, and Millie made their way to the empty storage room. Let's go over it from the beginning, Pansy said, just to make sure we're not missing anything. Harry recounted the story of his visit to Gringotts to Hagrid. Millie then told how Hagrid had been very evasive about the break-in and Daily Prophet article. Because he and Harry had seen Professor Snape headed for the third floor the night the troll had gone rampaging. Tracy reminded them all that Professor Snape had been living earlier the day. Harry concluded with the evidence he turned up after the lecture. So that's all the evidence we have, Theo said. Now that my theories, which is basically solely on the evidence that Professor Snape left the troll in to cause distraction while he tried to get whatever the dog is guarding, and the dog injured him, is what injured that would limit causing him to be dripping blood on the floor. But that's absurd, Daphne protested. He's a teacher. He wouldn't try to steal something that Dumbledore is keeping safe. Tracy snorted derisively. Not all the teachers are saints, you know, and everyone can be tempted. What if it was a magic artifact or someone with special magic powers? Remember, someone broke into Gringotts to get at this thing. It's got to be important. Okay, so this is part 1 of chapter 10 of They Shook Hands Year 1. Take care, everybody.